add in Edge or IE or whatever, what will be part of the Office suite, or you had a plugin in Excel, if you run that plugin in Excel in 2016 local version as opposed to 2016 Office 365 subscription-based version,
Mm-hmm.
that add-in will still depend on the same set of DLLs and will still install and function in exactly the same way and work in the same way. So the file content, the DLL content is all the same. It is exactly the paid for subscription pieces that will be different. That's my view on it, from what I
But
understand.
do you know how the UWP version would be different from the Business Store? Not in feature functions switched on, but do you see that there could be any difference?
Only in as much as potentially letting other developers be able to hook into things in a slightly different way, maybe. The
Okay.
UWP version obviously will be more able for newer base style of codes to hook into it, whereas maybe the local version would still just be dependent on you writing code that will work with locally VBA type code and macros and the way they're written. So that's my only thought process around it, is that the UWP version will let forward-thinking developers write things against that version of Office rather than the older version or the locally installed same sort of set version. But that's my only thinking, is that it encourages developers, maybe if they want to use a UWP version, it encourages them to develop in such a way it then will work with that, and then they can plug it in onto the store and people will use that. But then it then forces users to use that version and not you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all, I think Microsoft's vision is all about continuously uplifting the skills of developers to keep the progression going, rather than, as it has done in the past, nothing's actually really progressed. You've just had combating large like Oracle versus Java versus Microsoft versus whoever in the industry. You've not actually had the developers trying to compete to write the best, most up-to-date, most efficient code. And by Microsoft pushing the button on Windows 10, completely embracing changing the cycle of its kernel drivers every 6 months or however frequent, and pushing the boundaries constantly, the developers now have to be a very different breed of developers. They have to keep really keeping up the pace and developing, better, more efficient code, because they've got the ability to, because they've got the platform to do it. That's just my view separately on that subject. Is I think that's one of the reasons. It's to keep people completely fresh and honest all the time, rather than just, oh, well, actually, I know I can do it like this, like I did 10 years ago, because I know it works and I'll just do it that way. They're kind of forcing people to do things differently and in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I actually think I got enough on that one. I think we're going to. Do you want to just give me a 30-second version of just a conclusion of what that would mean for your application management going forward?
Wow. Yeah. So what it? Yeah. I'm trying to think what angle to come at here. So for what it would mean generally is that the developer's life cycle, the output created would basically be something like an AppX format, which then can be embraced into a business store type application. But it would be managed at a development level potentially, rather than putting it through this is unfortunate, but it could end up being the dying death of packaging teams. But this is not to happen for years to come yet. I'm talking, there's so many bloody apps in the world. This is like a 5 to 10 year strategy probably for Microsoft to try to have. It'll be like the death of packaging teams. You'll no longer need to do any of this stuff. It'll be developed. There'll be a version created, available in X amount of different formats that just plug in and they just work. Apps will end up being just like plugins. That's how I see it. Within 5 to 10 years. I mean, I kind of had this vision, and I'm going back now 6 years. I said 6 years ago, I said within 5 years, every app will be web-based. There won't be a need to have MSIs. Everything will be HTML5. It'll be all web-based driven. And that didn't actually happen. But it's actually what people want to happen